Welcome back to the deep dive. Ever feel, really stuck? Trapped by what others expect, maybe? Or even by things that happened way back in your past? Does that feeling of real, genuine happiness seem like it's always just out of reach? Well, what if the biggest wall isn't actually out there but inside? What if it's our own need for validation from others? That's pretty much the surprising idea we're digging into today from a book that a lot of people say really can change your life. We're looking at The Courage to be Disliked. A single book can change your life. It's by two Japanese authors, Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitaka Koga. And Kishimi, he's actually a certified counselor consultant for the Japanese Society of Adlerian Psychology. So that brings us real psychological depth.
Right, and Koga is a writer who helps make these, well, quite profound ideas really accessible through this engaging dialogue format they use. Our mission today is to unpack the advice in this huge bestseller. It's simple advice, really, but profound. It promises to help us find our inner power, set better boundaries, and ultimately find lasting happiness.
By developing what the book calls the courage to change. Okay, let's unpack this. But before we dive right in, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like the video if you find this useful. This is the Deep Seek Diaries, and you can find us on the big social platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the resources we talk about today, the book, any websites, they're linked down in the description for you. And please do take a moment to check out our terms and conditions when you can. Right, now sit back and let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get the courage to be disliked, you have to start with its foundation, which is the work of Alfred Adler. The book introduces him as one of the three giants of 19th century psychology, right up there with Freud and Jung. But what makes Adler different, and what's key to this book, is his idea of teleology. Basically, it's the idea that what we do now isn't just driven by past causes like Freud might emphasize, but by our goals, our purposes.
Teleology. So it shifts things from why did this happen to what am I trying to achieve now?
Exactly. It really flips the script, especially if you're used to thinking our childhood or past traumas are the only things dictating who we are today. Adler offers a different lens. And the core idea from Adler, the really liberating one of this book, is that we are absolutely not defined or, chained by our past experiences, our doubts, or what other people expect from us. The book puts it really clearly. Your life is not something that someone gives you, but something you choose yourself. And you are the one who decides how you live.
Wow, that's a huge idea, isn't it? It totally changes how you might look at your own life. And the book really pushes this, saying, no matter what has occurred in your life up to this point, it should have no bearing at all on how you live from now on. The power, it argues, is right here, right now, in the present. But I can almost hear people thinking, hang on, is it really that simple? What about really tough circumstances, things truly outside our control? How does the book handle that?
Yeah, that's a really important question. The book isn't saying those difficult things didn't happen or that they weren't hard. Instead, it argues is our interpretation of those events, the meaning we choose to assign them now, that shapes our present and our future.
Ah, okay. So it's not denying reality, but focusing on where our power actually lies in our response, our choices today.
Precisely. And it connects this directly to relationships. Makes this fascinating point that sometimes, maybe often, our dislike of ourselves or why we avoid getting close to people, that's actually a choice we're making, usually out of fear.
A choice to dislike yourself.
The book puts it starkly. You've avoided interpersonal relationships by disliking yourself. It's like a defense mechanism, right? To avoid getting hurt or judged. But it cuts you off from real connection. Which brings us back to our own agency. If the past doesn't define us, what does? Well, Adler's key idea, highlighted in the book, is the important thing is not what one is born with, but what use one makes of that equipment.
What use one makes of that equipment. So it's not about your starting point, but what you do with what you've got, your actions, your choices.
Exactly. It's a call to action, really.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit challenging. If that's true, if our past doesn't have to hold us back, I'd challenge you, listening right now, to think how much of feeling stuck or limited today might actually be because of past choices or beliefs you're still holding on to, as opposed to purely external forces you can't control. It's a tough question the book makes you ask yourself. So if we accept this idea that we choose our lives, this courage to be disliked, what does that actually look like in practice? Does it mean you just stop caring and become, rude or inconsiderate?
No, definitely not. That's a common misconception. The book makes it clear it's not about being abrasive or deliberately unpleasant. The courage it talks about is more about developing the inner strength, the resolve to set healthy boundaries, and, crucially, to resist that constant urge to please everyone else, often at your own expense.
Okay, like saying no when you need to, even if it might disappoint someone.
Exactly. Think about being asked to take on extra work you genuinely can't handle without burning out. The courage is being able to respectfully say no, not out of spite, but out of self-respect, and recognizing your own limits. The practical side is taking personal responsibility for your own feelings and actions. It means consciously stopping the habit of blaming other people or external situations for how you feel.
So moving from, why is this happening to me, towards, what am I going to do about it now?
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about aligning with what's true for you, even if some people don't like it, even if it leads to criticism or disapproval from those who maybe preferred you when you were easier to manage.
And there's a really important point the book makes about happiness itself, isn't there? It's not quite what we usually think.
Right. It suggests happiness isn't some end goal you chase, like getting a promotion or buying a house, and then you'll be happy. Instead, happiness is described as a byproduct.
A byproduct of what?
Of living authentically, of being true to yourself and finding meaning in contributing to others, in feeling useful within your community, however small.
So joy comes from the process of living genuinely, not after achieving something specific. That's quite a shift.
It's a very empowering idea. But it's also fair to mention some critiques, even from people who generally like the book. Some readers do find the advice, well, maybe a bit idealistic.
How so?
They point out that, maybe not every single problem can be solved just by changing your mindset and deciding not to care what others think. Especially with complex situations like systemic issues or genuinely toxic environments.
Right. Sometimes external reality is pretty harsh.
Exactly. And the book is often described more as a philosophical shift rather than a practical step-by-step how-to guide, which means for some people it can feel challenging to implement. It gives you the why and the what, but maybe less of the detailed how for very specific, messy life problems.
I can see that. Philosophy is one thing, daily life is another.
And there's another challenge some readers mention, the whole idea of taking full accountability for where you are in life, especially for people who've experienced significant past trauma or harm. The idea that feeling stuck is somehow a choice, even a subconscious one, aimed at some hidden goal. That can be a really hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, that could feel dismissive if not handled carefully. It sounds like something needing careful reflection, not a quick fix.
Definitely. It requires nuance and perhaps more support than just reading a book can offer in those cases.
So talking about the book itself, how are these big ideas actually presented? You mentioned it's not a standard self-help format.
No, it's quite unique. It's structured as a dialogue. A conversation between a philosopher who espouses Adlerian ideas and a young man who is full of doubts and questions.
Ah, like Plato's dialogues, maybe?
Sort of, yeah. That conversational style is deliberate. It's meant to make these pretty deep psychological concepts feel more accessible, less purely academic. And honestly, it makes the book feel deeply engaging for many. You're kind of listening in, processing the ideas, along with the young man in the story.
That sounds like a really effective way to explore these themes. So how did that structure and the ideas themselves land with readers overall? What's the general reception been like?
Oh, it's been huge. On Amazon, for instance, it has a really impressive average rating, 4.4 out of 5 stars, from over 21,000 global ratings. It's often called a Japanese phenomenon that went worldwide.
Wow, 21,000 ratings. That's significant. What are the common threads in what people are saying?
Well, looking at the recurring themes, insight is a big one. People consistently praise its illuminating ideas. They call it fascinating and insightful, and many describe the core message as truly liberating. You see comments like, very interesting, easy reading, highly recommended, suggesting it hits home quickly for many.
Okay, so the core ideas resonate. What else?
Readability comes up a lot, too, in a positive way. Despite the deep topics, people often describe it as highly readable, amazing, just a great book. Comments like, great book that shows you a new lens of looking at the world pop up frequently. And also things like, this is a great book, hopefully I will be able to apply some of the knowledge, which shows people see its potential value.
All right, so insightful and readable for many, but you mentioned critiques earlier. Did anything come up consistently in the negative feedback?
Yes, the language, or more specifically, that dialogue format we just discussed, seems to be polarizing. While lots found it easy to understand and engaging, a significant minority found it, well, less appealing.
How so? What were the criticisms?
Some found the dialogue clunky or even poorly written. There were stronger reactions, too, like slow, soul-destroying, mind-numbing, or corny. So clearly, that style just didn't work for everyone.
Interesting. So the very thing that makes it engaging for some is a turnoff for others.
It seems so. And there was one specific review pattern worth noting. Some people felt it had a great beginning, disappointing end, suggesting maybe the dialogue format lost steam or the focus shifted in the latter part of the book in a way that didn't satisfy everyone.
So putting all that feedback together, what's the takeaway?
I think it suggests the core Adlerian ideas in the book are genuinely powerful and thought-provoking. They clearly have the potential to make a big impact, but the way they're presented in that dialogue format might require a bit of patience or an open mind from the reader. It seems to provoke strong reactions, both good and bad.
Right. It's not a neutral read, it sounds like. It makes you think one way or another.
Exactly. Which leads us to think about who this book is really for. Who would get the most out of grappling with these ideas? Based on the content and all this feedback, I'd say it's especially valuable for anyone feeling genuinely stuck. Stuck in their thinking patterns, their emotional responses, or how they relate to others. If you're looking for a way to break free, this offers a compelling framework.
Okay, people feeling stuck. Who else?
Definitely individuals interested in self-improvement, but maybe looking for something beyond the usual quick tips, particularly if they have an interest in philosophy or psychology. And fundamentally, it's for anyone who wants a fresh perspective on happiness, wants to feel more in control of their life, and is tired of, people-pleasing.
That potential for real change seems to be a major draw. You see it in the reviews, right? People saying things like, it changed me, or it deeply impacted me, calling it a real game changer.
Absolutely. And there was that one comment you mentioned earlier, calling it almost spookily relevant in this age of digital one-upmanship and increasing anxiety.
Yeah, that really struck me. It suggests the book's message about internal validation versus external approval really hits a nerve right now. It's less a step-by-step guide, maybe, and more like holding up a philosophical mirror.
That's a good way to put it. It challenges core assumptions.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive on the courage to be disliked, the main takeaway, the really empowering message, seems to be about freedom. The freedom that comes from realizing you choose your life, that your worth isn't decided by other people's opinions, and finding the courage to actually live according to your own values.
It's about reclaiming your agency, fundamentally.
And if we really lean into that, if we genuinely accept that our past doesn't have to dictate our present or future, it leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? What shackles, maybe old beliefs, old fears, old interpretations, might you be choosing to hold on to right now? Perhaps just out of habit, or maybe out of that very fear of being disliked.
It's a powerful question to reflect on.
Definitely something to think about. We really encourage you to check out The Courage to Be Disliked by Ichiro Kashimi and Fumitaka Koga if you want to explore these ideas more deeply. It might just be the start of a new journey for you. I hope you've enjoyed today's deep dive. Please remember to check out the links in the description section for the book and other resources. And if you haven't already, please hit those subscribe and like buttons as you head off. It really helps us out. Until the next deep dive, goodbye.